Welcome to the Matt Sager Podcast, Friday, January 4th, the first Friday of 2019. And let me just say it up front, I was wrong. Now, I didn't stake my reputation on this or say it was a certainty or anything, but in light of recent Netflix Marvel cancellations, Daredevil in particular, I thought, we're never going to see Punisher Season 2 or Jessica Jones Season 3. And on at least one of those counts, I have definitively been proven demonstrably wrong. I'm very happy to say. I'm quite happy to be wrong about this, because The Punisher has featured an excellent cast, storyline. Jon Bernthal in particular as The Punisher is like, I almost liken that to Ron Perlman and Hellboy, where it's like, wow, this guy's headshot just screams playing the Punisher, just as Ron Perlman was born to play Hellboy. And I'm very happy to say that The Punisher Season 2, which has been in the can, fully produced for a little while, at least a couple of months, that my fear-mongering suggesting we might never get to see it is officially false. There will be a Punisher Season 2. We even have a date, and it's very soon from now. But first, let's check out the trailer on Netflix, because this looks very cool.
Someone told me once, life is just trying not to be lonely.
It's like a bomb went off inside my mind, scattering all the pieces.
Every time I try to put the pieces together, something won't fit.
Yeah, something won't fit. Try and pick up on the clues in the dialogue to this trailer. Now, there'll be more visual clues. I'll attach the YouTube link for this trailer in the description for tonight's podcast episode. But try and pay attention to some very specific language that Frank Castle's using here that hint at who the big bad is likely to be.
There's something on the edges. Someone, like a dark shadow, waiting for me. This face has everything that I ever did wrong written all over it.
You need to let me be what I'm meant to be. I'm not the one who dies. I'm the one who does the killing.
Welcome back, Frank. January 18th on Netflix. That's the same day that Glass premieres in theaters. So there is just a ton of great new releases debuting on January 18th. We got Glass. We got an entire new season of The Punisher. That should certainly get us through the weekend at the very least. And then there'll be all the rewatchings that, let's be honest, we're going to do. Now, again, I'd refer you to some of that language he used in the trailer. There wasn't a ton of it. It was just a minute long of Frank monologuing, and it's much more clear when you click on the link that I'm going to attach to this podcast description. It will be much clearer to you, but in the meantime, just to tease and tantalize you, it's a puzzle for Frank, I should say. Think about the various puzzles one encounters in life. There are puzzles of logic, puzzles of morality, and then there are fun, innocent, harmless things like, I don't know, jigsaw puzzles? I'm just saying. Any one of those could be a challenge that The Punisher faces in Season 2 when it debuts January 18th on Netflix. But one of them, if you're a longtime Punisher fan from the comics, one of them you've probably figured out by now is the kind Frank's going to have to solve, have to piece together, as it were. I'm so glad and so relieved that this season is even seeing the light of day, because I truly feared that when Netflix canceled Daredevil after Season 3, as the writers and showrunner were breaking down the story beats and beginning to plot and write Season 4, I thought, oh boy, Netflix is just bailing on Marvel. That's terrible. We've got a fully produced Season 2 Punisher in the can. What's going to happen to it? And what about Jessica Jones Season 3? It appears as though, while not re-upping with Marvel, Netflix is going to, at the very least, not break its existing promises to the viewers. I don't know what their contract situation is or is not with Marvel, but I know that to us, Netflix subscribers and their viewers, there has been a covenant between us that, they make an announcement. There will be a Punisher Season 2. There will be a Jessica Jones Season 3. They never promised us a Daredevil Season 4, but given that the entire Netflix Marvel universe was built on a structure, the foundation of which was Daredevil, I really feared that when they unceremoniously canceled the show, which didn't have its best season ever this year, but regardless was wonderful, incredibly entertaining superhero TV, I feared that they were really getting ready to sever ties in a more serious way and to leave us sort of stranded and without The Punisher Season 2 and Jessica Jones Season 3. Jessica Jones, we do not yet have anything like a date or a cool trailer like we do for The Punisher, but I believe now that we'll be seeing her as well. And sadly, that's going to be it. There certainly is not going to be another season of Defenders, nor will there be Daredevil, Iron Fist, or Luke Cage. But Punisher Season 2 looks very cool. And again, Frank is going to be faced with a lot of challenges, not only to his own inner turmoil and grief and rage and need for vengeance on the world, but a villain who, again, poses something of a mystery to him, a puzzle to solve, to piece together. All right, I think I've teased you enough. Any Punisher fan from the comics knows exactly what I'm talking about, and the trailer gives you visuals to really drive the point home. So, again, check out the link to that in the description for tonight's podcast. And speaking of puzzles, I think I'm about done with HQ trivia, at least for the moment. I'm certainly done until I get definitive answers regarding the article published today in Kotaku. My own experience with HQ is mixed. I find their hosts to be increasingly insufferable. The 10-minute wait time for question 1, the sub-YouTuber, no offense to YouTubers, but really unprofessional, unfunny comedy, jokes that get repeated ad infinitum, jokes which weren't even funny the first time. But for a legitimate quiz show on your phone that promises payouts of thousands of dollars, I'm willing to sit through that. I think it would be nice if they hired more charismatic hosts or directed the hosts they've got to sort of just, it's like in radio, you would have air checks. And if you had bad habits like repeating the same bad joke again and again and again, or rather than just playing a song, telling a story that you think might be amusing about an experience you had with the song, your program director would go, listen, stop it. They want to hear music. Say what you've got to say, make it concise, make it quick, stop with the horrible puns, and just do your job. I'd accept that. But again, for a promise of several $1,000s, sometimes as much as $25,000, even $50,000. I believe over New Year's there was a contest in which they promised $50,000 and a car. So, for something like that, a game show host that's annoying is a small price to pay, and not very different, a little bit less professional perhaps, but not very different than the annoying game show hosts that we have on TV and have had for decades. It's the price you pay to essentially participate in trivia night, just not at a bar, and have the potential to win thousands and thousands of dollars in cars and all sorts of prizes. But a couple things. I've personally had a couple of negative experiences with HQ. The first one was about 6 weeks ago. It is a very hard game, which is one of the reasons, in addition to the prize itself, it is fun to really take a mental challenge like that and see how much you know. And it's very exciting and a little bit fun when I get answers correct that like 80-90% of others don't. Just as it's maddening when pretty much everyone gets an answer right and I don't. It's a game, but one with rules and promises. So the first thing that happened with me to really sour me on HQ, and I'm sure it was a technical issue, others were complaining about this happening at about the same time, but they had a Marvel-themed night in which all the questions were about the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I thought, more than any other time in history, tonight I have a really serious, substantial chance to win HQ Trivia. I have much more knowledge than is common. Not bragging, this is hardly something to brag about, but it is a fact that I have greater knowledge of the Marvel Cinematic Universe and their comics and everything else than your average HQ player with a more balanced life than me. This was a chance for me to take skills which otherwise do very little for me financially or otherwise, and really have a strong, fighting, legitimate chance at winning HQ. And after I answered question 1 correctly in under 2 seconds, as they began to ask question 2, they bounced me out of the game. I don't know how else to describe it. It just said game over. No explanation as to why. And I looked in the chat and I did see that a few others were saying, hey, I just got kicked out of the game. Why? What did I do? So that was quite upsetting. But it was not enough to make me say, that's it, I'm done with HQ Trivia. I really believed it to be a technological glitch. Now, a few days ago, I actually came very close to winning. I made it to question 12 and lost then, which is frustrating, but hardly the fault or a symptom of any kind of malfeasance on the part of HQ. But the payout was $2,500, and I was able to watch the end of the game and see who won what. Because after all, that money does get spread out amongst the various people who win. So on this night in which the prize was $2,500, and it's not as if they make any kind of statement that we're going to be divvying up $2,500, and here's the number of people among who that money will be dispersed to, how it will be allotted. So they weren't technically breaking any promises, but I saw the screen saying who won and what they won, and it was this endless side-scrolling list of names, each of whom won. Again, the prize that they were touting was $2,500. Each of these winners, the number of which was quite many. That's all I can say. I don't know how many there were. I just saw that there were lists scrolling on and on and on and on and on. But each of them, underneath their names, you could see what they won. And each of them won 84 cents. That is a far cry from anything like even a slice of a $2,500 pie. So while technically they may have really dispersed $2,500, they did so amongst dozens, if not 100 or hundreds or more of winners. So that is certainly, technically they can get away with it, but it is a form of real dishonesty. They're certainly playing fast and loose with facts. But now, this article from Kotaku today, I've now turned off HQ on my phone. I'm not interested in playing the game until I get answers about all this stuff. The headline, HQ Trivia doesn't always pay players their winnings, and they won't say why. That is, I don't know the details, but that rings to me as actionable. That's shocking. For months, the article says, players in HQ Trivia, a trivia app that offers cash prizes, say they have been having issues getting their money. And the gist of HQ's issues, again, they're not saying why, but like all games and all internet services, they do have terms of services and rules. And I know that they've had issues with players who have kept a Discord server window open during gameplay. How they're aware that this is happening, how they're able to monitor players' actions to such a degree, that is a worrying issue that's separate from this. But without outright stating that that's why players aren't getting paid, it appears to be the case that they either think many players have a chat window open with somebody, or they're just using that as an excuse. Either way, it's unacceptable. Because if I have Facebook open on my phone and get a pop-up saying, HQ's live, come play now, and I win $10,000, say, and HQ maintains that, well, you were on Facebook at the time of gameplay, who knows what kind of answers and information you might have been getting fed in real time by a friend on Facebook. Well, that is a potential problem. Equally troubling and equally problematic is the idea that HQ Trivia knows exactly what I'm doing or are leaping to conclusions about what I'm doing on my phone. Either of those cases is unacceptable. But ever since August of 2018, Kotaku has been receiving report after report, people saying that HQ doesn't pay them, that they reach out to HQ and HQ simply doesn't respond. One guy who just won $150. This should not be something controversial to a game show that promises thousands of dollars every night, often multiple times a day. One player has not gotten $150. He won it in October. It's now January 2019, and they are not even responding to his requests of an explanation as to what happened. So I'm not here to levy any of those charges against HQ. The only thing I know that they've done to me personally that I've witnessed and suffered is one, I was kicked out of Marvel Trivia, the game I had an extraordinarily high. Sorry to pat myself on the back, but listen, what few strengths I have in this world, I'm going to be honest about them. I stood a very good chance of taking that prize. And they kicked me out at question 2 with no explanation, no reason. The other thing they did was talk incessantly. This Scott Rogowski is so in love with his humor. As uncharismatic and as humorless as he is, somebody at HQ really likes him because he rambles for like 15 minutes, interminably, incessantly, in between questions. So having gotten all those questions right, and having suffered through Scott Rogowski, that is how bad these hosts are, is that they are like a penalty you must endure for this opportunity to win money. They don't bring anything but suffering and boredom to the table. But having watched Scott and heard Scott reiterate again and again, in between each question, and with big flashy graphics behind him, $2,500, $2,500. Not even a little bit of fine print in there saying, to be dispersed among hundreds, possibly thousands of you, averaging 84 cents. That was a problem, but I have not won and then failed to get paid. But now that I see that that is an issue, and I see that HQ is not only refusing to pay, but refusing to explain why they won't pay, and for the only possible explanation right now, absent an explanation from HQ themselves, being that they're monitoring everything you're doing on your phone or tablet while you're playing the game. It's bad enough that they're assuming that you're doing something evil by having a chat window or Twitter or Facebook or Discord server open. You're basically presumed guilty. But beyond that, sometimes when you think everyone's the bad guy, it's because you're projecting your own guilt. And I'm not aware of anything in HQ Trivia's terms of service or anything in the App Store. And, granted, it may be buried somewhere that you've got to really dig to find, and they might send me an email with a link to it, presenting it. But they certainly hide it, that they are monitoring everything you're doing on your device when you're an HQ player. This honestly makes me want to take this a step further and not only disable notifications and gameplay, but maybe delete the app from my phone. Because they're spying on me to the extent that they know if I've got a Discord server window open or Facebook. And that's not okay. That was never discussed. None of the quips from Scott Rogowski or his many awful stand-ins when he takes his vacations, none of them say, you might not ever actually receive this prize, or this $2,500 might actually translate to 84 cents. I think I'm about done with HQ. If you've got a reason why I should feel otherwise, be you a representative of HQ Trivia, I certainly invite anyone who works there to contact me. Or if you're a player who's had a great experience and has not found that, say, having a Discord server active while you're playing, or Slack, which is very common for people who are playing. I know you shouldn't play HQ Trivia or anything else at work, but listen, that is another excuse that these people could fall back on, and I call bullshit. I am displeased with HQ. It's all fun and games until somebody doesn't win their prize, and it turns out several people are not being awarded the money that they've won. That is not okay with me. So if you've got any experience with HQ Trivia, be it positive or negative, as an employee or a game player, I'd love to hear from you. Get in touch with the Matt Sager Podcast. You can email me, matt@mattsager.com, or call 646-535-4788. Of course, you can also get me on social media. On Twitter, I'm @MattSager. Instagram, I'm Real Matt Sager, and on Facebook, I'm The Matt Sager. I've also got some pages there on Facebook. My voiceover page is Matt Sager VO, and this podcast page, which you should certainly be liking, is Matt Sager Podcast. Also, check out the links in the description for tonight's Matt Sager Podcast episode, for both the Punisher trailer on YouTube and my Patreon and merch store from my very good friends at wehavemerch.com. For everything else, my voiceover reels and contact info, archive back episodes of this podcast, articles, blog posts, and a whole lot more. You can find all that at mattsagervoiceover.com.